cigarettes can cause loss of memory, short-term memory. Does that sometimes?
Well, maybe it was one of those questions you weren't meant to ask. Maybe it's just
one of those, yeah.
Yeah, Kate Bush, the reclusive British pop star, has never really given many interviews over the decades. She's sort of like the J.D. Salinger of pop, I suppose. But, I was able to land a one-on-one interview with her in person in late 1985 when we spent the better part of an afternoon together. It was like after 3 p.m. on a Friday in a New York City hotel room. In either December or November of that year, and you can actually hear a bit of it on this cassette. This is the original cassette.
yes, that's right. A lot of songs.
She had recently finished her fourth album, Hounds of Love, which, frankly, many critics and fans consider to be her best to this day. Most of the interview has never been heard by anyone but me and has never been transcribed for publication. Sure, I used, less than 100 words for my article a few weeks later in January 1986 in Cashbox magazine, but it was just a small article. I then just simply got the tape and put it in a drawer and forgot about it for a couple decades, In 2014, when she sort of came out of touring retirement, I then transcribed a bit of it for, about half of it for the Huffington Post, this article right here. But the rest, as I said, has never seen the light of day until right now. So this footage kind of provides a glimpse of a rarely glimpsed person, Frankly, Kate Bush seemed more comfortable talking about films. And she's a real movie enthusiast, and here's, some of what she said on the subject.
It's not something that by itself has really attracted me. But I love films. I'm almost fanatical about films.
What are your favorites?
Well, Don't Look Now. Again, we have a Donald Sutherland collection. I think that's one of the best films ever made. I think Nicholas wrote superb.
Really fine movie, yeah.
It's just so beautifully done. It's a very disturbing film, but it's the way everything connects. You have so many things you don't understand. And by the end of the film, every one of those has been tied up neatly. I really love Hitchcock. I think he was a complete genius, probably for me one of the best directors ever. He just had such a sense of how to put things together and just beautiful. I really like Terry Gilliam's work. Do you remember Time Bandits? I think that was called.
Oh, that was a big one. I never saw it.
Well, he's made 3 films, one before that, and one actually called Brazil, which, as far as I know, isn't released here, which is crazy because it's such a good film and it's been released everywhere else. And he's a very talented director. Neil Jordan, have you heard of his stuff? He did a very interesting film called Angel. He is Irish, and his work has a great sense of the Irish culture and the whole rural sense of Ireland as well. And I love Kurosawa's films and comedy films. Young Frankenstein, I think, is an absolute. Because although that's funny, it's also an incredibly beautiful film. It's so well done. I think he was one of the first people too to play with black and white when colour was what everyone was using.
Right.
Beautiful. Gene Wilder is so funny.
Gene Wilder. How about Woody Allen?
I really like Woody Allen, but there's a lot of his films I haven't seen, but my favourite one out of all his is Play It Again, Sam.
Oh, that's a good one.
I thought that was really great. But there's a lot I haven't seen, so I probably would like some of them too.
Well, you mentioned,
well, I could go on forever. I was just trying to think of them all.
You mentioned Irish cinema and everything. How about Irish music? How did you get into that? You've got an Irish jig on the second side of the LP.
Yes.
And how did you get into Irish folk music? What was the attraction?
I think it's probably the biggest influence musically that I've ever had. My mother's Irish, and when I was very young, both my brothers were very into traditional music, English and Irish.
Right.
Excuse me. And they were always playing music, so I was always brought up with it, and they were always playing instruments. And I think when you're a kid, you're very open to all forms of music. Perhaps more so in the real way when you're a kid. And it really got in very deep, and I think it's only in the last couple of albums that I've been able to express my influences in Irish music through my work.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? It's a bit hard to say, but it's funny, when you write a song, it's easier for me now, but it's almost a second stage where you take control of the song. You start writing it, and if you're not careful, it just finishes itself, and it might not be what you wanted. It's very strange. It takes over its own. It has its own life. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And I've just never really been able to write something where I could present the Irish music in a very obvious way. And I think actually the second side of the album, when I was writing it, I felt that it was the perfect vehicle to involve the Irish musicians that I'd worked with on the last album in a more involved way, rather than just working with them on the one song, to use them to create that atmosphere and add to the flavour and themes on that side.
Our afternoon progressed. After a while, around, 4:30 or so, she became very playful and humorous. Here's how she sounded once she'd loosened up a bit and had a cigarette. She smoked an Irish brand, by the way.
How about what songs have you written that wrote themselves? Which ones?
God, that's a difficult question.
Because some must have taken some time. Other ones probably just took off.
Yes.
Were automatic.
That's right. A lot of songs are just like, whoop, and that's it. And other songs it's like stages. Maybe it take you 3 or 4 days to get some structurally together, but then I could spend maybe a couple of weeks finishing off the lyrics on that song, or just that one little bit there, I've got everything, but and each song is so different. It really is like, once you just make a spark for something, it then has its own personality. Some of them are really grumpy, and some of them are really sort of quite easy, and it's extraordinary. And you can put some things on a track and it will just reject them. It just, it won't work, and you can put them on another track and it works really well. It's extraordinary, really.
Yeah. Well, just a few quick roundup things here, unless you have more you would like to express at 5 o'clock after 25 interviews, which I seriously doubt. You probably didn't want to even do this interview. But anyway, no, let's see, there was,
Do you want one of these?
I was dying for you to. Number 1, Carol's.
I shared their Irish, maybe.
They are, yes.
Cigarettes can seriously damage your health. Government. So in Britain they have those same warnings, huh?
Oh, yeah.
You have them here too, though, don't you?
We have modified ones, like, they can contain, they're rotating warnings. They have, can cause complicated pregnancy. Another one says, quitting now can seriously, increase your chances of having a normal life. They have rotating warnings.
Good Lord.
Scary ones. But yours are standardized. Emergency danger, government
Absolutely.
health warning.
Yes, that's on every packet, nothing different.
Exactly the same wording as well.
That's an interesting idea, actually. putting different slogans.
That's recent. That's like last month.
Is that maybe
Yeah,
maybe I'll listen to one of them.
Yeah, maybe one of them will hit home.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, carbon monoxide. It's like it's very, one of them will hit in there. They figure. What do you? Here's a. We can talk about cigarettes. Kate Bush candid on cigarettes now.
God, yeah.
Oh yeah. What? Okay. Suppose this becomes a #1 single, #1 album, and everything in America. What exactly? What's the first thing you're going to do? I mean, what are you going to do with your life, career, etc.?
Buy an SSL.
No.
Get it in our studio. Definitely.
Get back to the studio, make another album.
But there's an SSL, yeah, it's the best mixing console you can get. I'd get one of them in our studio.
Really? Yeah.
And probably change the room a bit and get some more equipment in. And
how about your personal life? Would you do something? Would you marry? No, I mean, is anything in the works? I mean, any dirt you want to, totally unload on me here in terms of your person? I mean, what would you do personally? Get closer to any particular person? Move away from any particular?
What? Also, you're getting a #1 album in America. Does this do big psychological things?
Doesn't that mean you have a little more independence? I mean, you get a #1 album, you
Yes.
get more independence financially. You could, maybe not work with certain
Absolutely.
people that you would have to have worked with.
I see. Actually, no, I'm very lucky because I'm in a situation where I'm working with people that I want to. And financially, I'm not restricted now, luckily, because of the success of the album. And when I say restricted, I mean I'm not poor, so at least I can afford to make another album.
Right.
That's really my main thing. As long as I've got enough to make another album, then I can keep going. But personally, I don't know, actually. I mean...
You probably, continue on.
Yeah, I can't think. If you get some animals or something, but then you've got to. You see, my lifestyle doesn't really revolve around things I'd like to do personally on that level. Like, I'd love to have lots of animals, but I can't possibly keep them the way my life is. So maybe I'll do that. Get a farm.
Get a farm.
Yeah.
And there was one other final question that I had, and it totally escaped me. What was it? Yeah, well, I had it in my head, but I think cigarettes can cause loss of memory, short-term memory. Does that sometimes?
Or maybe it was one of those questions you weren't meant to ask. Maybe it's just...
One of those, yeah. It was. I'll call you up like at 3 in the morning. Kate, what's your favorite color? No. Well, let's see. Unless there's anything else you want to really bring up here, I think I've got pretty much what I need in terms of.
Okay, this part of my 1985 interview with Kate Bush has never been heard by anybody except me, and has never been transcribed in whole or in part for any publication. So it's sort of the kind of awkward beginning of the conversation, Anyway, it starts with me holding a copy of Hounds of Love and referring to it, and we start talking about her new album.
Every week it goes up a few points and everything. This is going to be your first U.S. success. I mean, probably, really probably top 10 album.
We'll see.
I know, yeah, it might not exactly, well, who knows. But, how do you feel about that? Finally, do you have the feeling, who cares about American success? They didn't accept me before. Or do you have a different attitude toward that?
I think it's really exciting. It's really good when when your record is going in the charts, it means that people like the music, and that's feedback, and it's good feedback, and I think every artist really enjoys that.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'd be crazy not to. I mean, you always hope that people will like your music. So it's really good. It's really exciting.
Right. How about I just got through seeing a video of yours that MTV screened. What's the name of the song? Cloud Bursting video with Donald Sutherland.
Yes. You've seen that?
Yeah, it's a real good one.
You like it?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
very
good.
good. In the people in the room, it was a screening, and everybody really liked the video and everything. It was really good. But tell me about your relationship, artistic or otherwise, with Donald Sutherland, and how he came about to ever be in the video.
Well, we were very lucky. I wanted a good actor to play the part of the father, and we thought, okay, let's just go for someone, the ultimate, so Donald Sutherland.
Okay.
So we found a way of contacting him, and he was interested, and he had the time, very coincidentally, to do the shooting days that we needed. And it was incredible. I think we were very lucky.
Would you have considered somebody else in the video? Do you think the video would have worked had Donald Sutherland not?
Well, I felt that he was the right man, and I think fate has agreed in that it came together so well. It's really good.
Yeah, I happen to agree. How about the Medici sextet? Is that pronounced? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, they're a quartet, the Medici.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Medici quartet.
Yes, and they became a sextet for the day.
Oh, I see. Okay, so
Yeah.
they're an already established quartet. then.
Exactly that. Yeah.
I see. Added 2 members, put them on Cloud Bursting.
Yes.
Who you arranged all of that? I mean, you of course arranged, the kind of geometric, feel of the strings and everything like that.
Yes. I actually wrote the track on the Fairlight to a string sample sound, but I just don't think you can beat the atmosphere of real strings. So Dave Lawson actually transcribed what I'd done onto paper for string players to be able to play it, and we brought them in. It's really good working with real musicians.
Uh-huh.
It's really fun.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And interesting too, because, particularly the Medici, as far as I know, they purely work on classical music, and although they work in the studio, I don't think they've worked on contemporary music before, so I think it was probably quite interesting for them too.
Yeah, I bet. How about the themes, the recurring themes to come through the album of running, chase, and pastoral settings, which carries through in the video and everything, and on both sides of the LP. Was this intended? What was the scheme, the overall scheme that you had for this album, or did it just come out spontaneously?
I think that the overall scheme, if there was one, was to split it into 2 separate pieces of music, 2 sides that would be completely different. And the initial idea was to write a long piece of music, a concept, that would take up the side of an album. I think something I wanted to do for a long while, but I didn't feel that a whole album of a concept was a good thing to do, especially as I wasn't sure if it was going to work. So I wrote, I suppose it must have been about 3 or 4 songs for that side, and felt that, okay, I'll be brave enough to do it. And to balance up the other side, I wanted individual songs, so they weren't linked, but there'd be a balance of perhaps one strong mood on one side, and maybe more sort of positive individual songs on the other. And that was the basic scheme, and then it was just a matter of writing the material, which makes it sound much easier than it was, really.
Yeah, because it seems really, supremely integrated, all the imagery, of the...
Oh, good.
I mean, you get a real aura, a real atmosphere and everything.
I think you were saying about the pastoral settings. I think one of the major influences was moving from the city to the country, which I did between the last album and this album. So all the songs for this album were written while I was sitting in a room without the window, there'd be trees and fields, and an elemental album in many ways, I think.
Where did you move? You moved from London to...
Yes, I moved from an environment that was very much city to somewhere that was very much country, and that sense of quiet and incredible sense of space, which I think was definitely a big influence. I think all writers are really intrigued by that whole thing of something really big, and there's this little human, or this little, the sense of contrast and playing with things that shouldn't really go together, but you can make them. And I suppose the whole thing of how surreal artists like to play, putting things that shouldn't go together and creating something. I think there is a fascination for that in everyone, really.
Her boyfriend at the time, Del Palmer, also her bassist and audio engineer, showed up, and so I have here what is probably the only audio or video of her and Palmer interacting together. So this is also a completely unreleased part of the tape. Here's a little bit of that. When she talks to Del Palmer, her voice goes up at least an octave, very affectionately. Here they are talking.
What is that in the cut?
Yeah, but I've got those ones in the plane.
Oh, on the plane, yeah.
Number... in collaboration with this guy over here?
No, he's just laughing. Yeah, of course. Yeah, you know this sort of thing I mean.
What's your name?
This is Del.
Del, are you the manager?
No.
Husband, spouse, son?
No.
What are you?
Musician engineer.
Ventriloquist.
Are you on this album?
I am, indeed.
Well, what do you do? You're the engineer of this album?
I engineered part of the album, along with 6 other people. And I also played bass on a few tracks. Done a little bit of singing here and there, and just generally contributed as much as I could.
Hey, so there you have it, my excellent afternoon with Kate Bush, which, thanks to recording technology, has now lasted for decades.